up somehow.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, want to say good night to you wherever you are in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the entire Caribbean, wherever you are in the diaspora, the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora. I say greetings to all who are logged on to my social media. My Straight Talk family, I say thank you. And I do apologize for what I call my tardiness tonight due to some connectivity problems we experience here, my Straight Talk family. And tonight, I really can't tally for too long because we are late, and I do apologize again profusely for our tardiness, which was due to some connectivity problems that I experienced myself, my Straight Talk family. And in the event you are joining me for the first time, I say welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. And suffice just to add that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. We do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. I do apologize for the late start, and we'll give you back a little bit of some of the time you lost. And I'm happy that you waited on me, so I am so happy. Just to let you know quickly before I go into my caption tonight, which is Talk the Truth. Jonel. Talk the Truth, Jonel. That's the caption for tonight. But I just want to keep you abreast as well as what's happening in terms of our COVID issues, the COVID issues that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we know there's lots of clamoring for the lifting or changing of protocols as you do in the United States. You don't need no COVID tests and what have you. But that's not the view of CMO Dr. Hazel who had this to say, just for your information, my Straight Talk family.
There is a surge in the number of cases in our source markets. And so the question of change, as I said before, our entry protocols have been guided by data and the latest information. And so it's not wise to make a change at this time. The most important thing to do is to contain this present wave of COVID-19 infections prior to consideration of change.
Well, that's the story from the CMO, and her word is final, the word of the COVID task force and the HOC, I think it's called, but that's the word. We're not going to change the protocols because the situation in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have witnessed a surge and we have to be careful. There's some people who still wear their masks, others don't. I do. Times when I remember most, I do wear my mask as well. In terms of the update, we just, suffice to say, we do have a surge. But my Stray Dog family, I wanted to discuss tonight quickly that I publicly criticized Jonel Powell in the past, so much so that I even went to the extent to opine that he is not fit to represent the people of constituency number 2, or anyone else for that matter. And upon reflection, I have been thinking that Jonel's impropriety was influenced by his senior law partner, Lindsey Grant. And I know that's no excuse, to tell you the truth. It's no excuse whatsoever. But one could understand the thing called peer pressure. Yes, when Jonel joined with his senior partner, Lindsey already had one strike. But Jonel should have known better and should still come to the nation and apologize, and that's my humble view. In the meantime, though, I really want to commend Jonel for coming forward and talking the truth. Even though he has upset many in his dying political party, the People's Action Movement, for exposing the big lie that his disgraceful leader, Sean Richards, continued to peddle on every media platform that he can access. Now, I don't know the submission number, but the prison project that's been bantered about on every social media, on every media platform to be exact, that project was considered by the cabinet as confirmed by Jonel. Jonel confirmed this as well in terms of that particular project when he said this, my Straight Talk family.
The prison is being built in terms of finance. A developer comes in, presents a project, and they are allocated X number of shares, which represent citizenships, which they can make available to the investors. The only difference is that with this particular project, when it is completed, it will be turned over to the government to manage and to operate as a prison, which means that the government did not have to find the money to build the prison. The member, myself and the other ministers were part of the approval process for that project while we were in government. It is a private project. It is being done by a private company, as with the Park Hyatt, and so there is no need, it doesn't go through any government process in terms of having to put out tenders for different contracts and all of that.
And my Straight Talk family, the process is one that's easily comprehended, easily understood, in that the Citizenship by Investment Unit gets a proposal and does its due diligence. Then, having done the due diligence, and once it's A-OK, Skipper also gets involved and does its own assessment in terms of the economic impact and what have you, and then creates a submission for the cabinet. That's in a nutshell how it goes. It might not be exact. I just paraphrase everything in the interest of time. But let's say that Sean Richards and Mark Brantley were right, and about the 55,000 shares, or 5,500 shares, I must say. Then that suggests that we, in the CIU or in the passport processing and due diligence fees, the country would earn almost $800 million, $750 million, and this will go into the government treasury. Now, if you deduct the common service fees or common service costs according to our constitution, and you would see how much Nevis will get. But the self-acclaimed and well-dressed, or best-dressed and brightest politician in Nevis, Mark Brantley, and Sean Richards are so deceptive and not worthy, really not worthy to lead us. Today I heard Sean Richards, as someone call him the Mumu Sean Richards, as school children are now calling him. I heard him trying to make the point that, and I quote him, the Harris prison budget of 2.4 million, or 2.4 billion, what am I saying? $2.4 billion could have built thousands of homes and provided water supply, solar, electricity, and sanitation services, unquote. But Sean Richards is like the school children are saying, mumu, for true. Because the government is not spending 1 cent on the construction of the prison. Not 1 cent is the government spending for this prison. Now, if, however, we use Sean Richards's and Mark Brantley's argument about 5,500 shares, and if they're all sold at 175,000 US dollars, then that will derive a sum of some $962,500,000 US dollars. That's a lot of money. Using the Eastern Caribbean Exchange, or EC Exchange, at 2.7 to the US dollar, then we get $2.5 billion. So Sean Richards and Mark Brantley have deliberately spread this wild and false rumor that the prison is costing $2.4 billion. In a singular moment of honesty, however, Jonel Powell publicly debunked Sean Richards and Mark Brantley's fantasy. I call it fantasy. And Jonel Powell debunked their fantasy and false lies, my family.
The project doesn't cost $2.4 billion. Can amount to that if they were able to sell all of them. The project doesn't cost $2.4 billion. The shares that have been allocated can amount to that if they were able to sell all of them.
So at least Jonel talking the truth and debunk their falsehood. Now what they have not said, though, is the CBI over the years have accounted to what the IMF and other institutions would call our foreign direct investment. The IMF opined in its executive board conclusion of its 2021 Article 4 consultation with St. Kitts and Nevis, dated October 29, 2021, that once the COVID-19 recovery is firmly established, the government should resume saving part of the CBI revenues to rebuild fiscal buffers, which will also provide additional fiscal space to mitigate contingent and long-term fiscal pressure. And that's the views of the IMF. So when Mark Brantley remained so obsessed with his fair share road march, I call it, he like Lord Melody, only had one tune, and his one tune is fair share. Prime Minister Harris, however, continued to be fiscally prudent by saving part of the CBI revenues for a rainy day. And Prime Minister Harris was highly commended by the governor of the central bank, Mr. Antoine, who said these words in commendation, my straight dog family.
Shocks will come. No control. So the question is, how do we best position ourselves to cushion the effects? A couple of things. One of the first areas that we really encouraged is building fiscal resilience. By fiscal resilience, some of you will refer to fiscal responsibility. Essentially, it is what our parents and grandparents did. Set aside something for a rainy day. The sun may be shining, but it will not always shine. Rainy days will come. And so we have been encouraging countries, encouraging our governments to set aside something so that in a period of downturn or economic difficulty, the government will be in a position to spend more and to help cushion the effect on the people. Some countries have responded to that, others less so. So at this moment, not just in our region, but across the world, many of our countries have little or no fiscal space. The ones that do will be faring a little better in this period because they are going to be using those resources that were set aside to help with safety nets to cushion the effect on the population. But I have been a very strong advocate for fiscal resilience frameworks so that the governments can pursue counter-cyclical fiscal policy. A big word which simply means when things are down, you spend more to help people out. That's all that means. I know in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government has some reserves and they have been deploying those in this period help, and that is welcome.
Yes, my Street Dog family. Big words. But all he said in a nutshell, the governor of the central bank, Senor Antoine, is that St. Kitts and Nevis, in fact, saved for a rainy day. But instead of learning these management lessons, I call them, from Timothy Harris over the last 7 years, Sean Richards and Mark Brantley seemed more concerned with the personal destruction of Timothy Harris. What a shame it had to come to this, as they ought to have known better. But that's the result of two men who are hungry for power and greedy for money. Think of the Hurricane Relief Fund, now called the Sustainable Growth Fund, which provided direct income to the government through the Citizenship by Investment Program, the CBI. Just like the Hurricane Relief Fund, the alternative investment option and this privately funded state-owned project, which is financed through the CBI, it will provide hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the government. And in turn, the government will earn resources from passport processing and due diligence fees, as I mentioned earlier, to facilitate several social, infrastructure, and development projects for the country. How do you think the government could finance the PAP program, the Poverty Alleviation Program? Ask yourself the question. How do you think the government financed the roof repair program? And Mark, in particular, knows this because, he likes to talk plenty. And in an interview with Yuri Bender, editor-in-chief of the Professional Wealth Management Pan-European and Asian magazine, Mark Brantley noted, according to this report, that foreign direct investment from the CBI program benefits citizens on a national and personal level and can be seen across every facet of the economy. That's what he said in this news item. But Mark Brantley is so dishonest and so deceptive that he now comes with a twisted tongue and says that he has no problem. Here's what he says. He has no problem with 5,500 shares, but not for a correctional facility. Could you imagine that? This is what he said.
The palm you knew is not the palm. Mash it up. Palm left you with the greed and the lust for power by the current leadership. That is why they get themselves in a trouble with Maria.
I'll take
they
that
can't
back
sit
right
in
now.
and leave it.
Because
that is why they have a case to be heard in the court on the 7th day about November.
I'm a little mixed up here, but forgive me for that.
Some people
I'm in
describe it as the misappropriation case.
Here's what he
Some
said.
people describe
Again, here's
it
what
as the breach of trust case. Some people call it the case of the vagabonds. But that is what they do.
5,500 shares is
they
not
just
the right way.
cannot behave.
There seems to be. I'm getting it.
Saying 5,500 shares to build a new JNF. To come up here and say, let us improve Alexandra. Let us spend on all the clinics around the country. Let us get universal health insurance so that let us diversify our economy and get the marijuana industry finally going. Let us ensure that people 500 shares is not the right way to go. Man, I would have feel so proud if you had said the same 5,500 shares to build a new JNF. To come up here and say, let us improve Alexandra. Let us spend on all the clinics around the country. Let us get universal health insurance so that let us diversify our economy and get the marijuana industry finally going. Let us ensure that people in Cairn and the surroundings have water in their pipes. But no, you're not interested in none of that. $5,500 shares is not the right way to go. Man, I would have feel so proud if you had said the same 5,500 shares to build a new JNF. To come up here and say, let us improve Alexandra. Let us spend on all the clinics around the country. Let us get universal health insurance so that let us diversify our economy and get the marijuana industry finally going. Let us ensure that people in Cairn and the surroundings have water in their pipes. But no, you're not interested in none of that.
The foreign direct investment, let me take that back. Mark Brantley fully well knows that the foreign direct investment to be derived from whatever the amount of the units of investments that will be sold under the alternative investment option to finance the correctional facility will positively impact every single citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis from the fees paid into the treasury. And the country will eventually own the correctional facility and call it one of its assets. Additionally, the government would be able to finance the projects Mark Brantley referred to, along, he must add, with the completion of his Mondo track, beg your pardon, over there on Long Point, which has no shelter for the footballers when they play, or the athletes, or the patrons who go there. Open area, like they have to graze for grazing animals. If the rain comes down, where do they run, Mark? And a number of unfinished projects. Additionally, the government will be able to finance them. And I will agitate for a fair share for Nevis in keeping with the Constitution. But Mark Brantley was probably attempting to distract the Federation from the inherent conflicts of interest, and corruption right there in his NIA cabinet. Conflict of interest and corruption spell and smell the same in every country, but obviously not in Nevis, my straight talk family. Imagine Spencer Brand writes a proposal to Skipper to develop a 5-acre condo project at Coxheath Estate in St. John's, Nevis. He estimated a capital investment of US $12 million, or EC $32 million. He proposed to offer 1,224 shares at $400,000 each. Imagine that. His yield would have been $489 million, or $489,600,000 to be exact, or EC $1.3 billion from a $32 million investment. The question you ask then, who would have benefited from this project? Obviously, it was not approved, thank God. But Minister Brand then signs a letter in March 2019, and he talks about he got elected in 2017. But Minister Spencer Brand signed this letter in March 2019, 2 years after he was elected to office in Nevis. And it reads, and I quote, addressed to the St. Kitts Investment Promotion Agency. Dear Mr. Jacobs, I hope this letter finds you well. I write to seek an update from Skipper on your department's further position. Our development Atlantic View Condos, now branded as Atlantic View Hotel, consists of 68 units in total, 48 studio apartments, 48 studio units, beg your pardon, 16 one-bedroom oversized units and 4 two-bedroom units. He goes on, therefore, in light of the change in the CBI policy under SR&O number 7 of 2018, where the sale price now been adjusted from $400,000 to $200,000 US per share, I hereby make application in allotment of 250 shares for this development. That's what he wrote. Now, Cabinet, in 2019, 2 years after Spencer Brand was elected, subsequently approved 220 shares at $200,000. His yield, once sold, would be $44 million US. I put it in our money, easy money, $119 million from a $12 million investment. The question is, who, still is the question, who would benefit from this project? Ask yourselves and ask the question, has Mark Brantley's firm sold or is still selling legal services for this or any other CBI project? That's a pertinent question. I asked the question because of these facts, my straight talk family. I asked the question simply because of these facts, my straight talk family.
Instead of cautioning Mr. Brand, Honorable Premier, sought to promote this personal benefit of a sitting minister. The facts are that for over a year the minister requested, was granted, and accepted 220 shares from the federal cabinet. All of this was forced from the mouth of the minister after questions were raised by the Prime Minister, and no amount of political gymnastics can erase those facts. This attempt to withhold conflict of interest information and to hide it under the guise of a come-clean statement has not convinced the NRP, and neither should it persuade you, my people.
Nothing he can say. But my people, lo and behold, instead of humbling himself after being caught in his own web of lies and claims, Spencer Brand now claims that he's a victim of a scheme that prevents him from being able to attract investors in his project. Now, Minister Spencer Brand displays a Mark Brantley type of arrogance, my straight dog family, I can only surmise.
Fellow citizens, residents, and friends, to address certain statements made by the outgoing Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Timothy Harris. Dr. Harris claims that I, Spencer Brand, as a sitting member of the Nevis Island government, am involved in the Citizenship by Investment program. Just to be clear, I am not one of those persons benefiting from the scandalous schemes that undervalue our passport. In fact, quite the opposite. I am a victim of the schemes because they have prevented me from being able to attract investors to my project. Citizens, residents, and friends, I have chosen to use this medium to address certain statements made by the outgoing Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Timothy Harris. Dr. Harris claims that I, Spencer Brand, as a sitting member of the Nevis Island government, am involved in the Citizenship by Investment program. Just to be clear, I am not one of those persons benefiting from the scandalous schemes that undervalue our passport. In fact, quite the opposite. I am a victim of the schemes because they have prevented me from being able to attract investors to my project.
Could you imagine that, my straight dog family? Spencer Brand is caught in a web of lies. His conflict of interest and corruption exposed. And instead of humbling himself and just going away, the Divisions have asked for his resignation, but I'm not going to get into that. I'll just listen to it. Nevis, that's your call. But instead of going away, Spencer Brand paints himself as a victim. But again, I say kudos to Jonel Powell for talking the truth. Because Jonel Powell is back to the prison issue directly, or the correctional facility, to be correct. Jonel Powell said again that the truth he was talking, my people.
Can amount to that if they were able to sell all of them. The project doesn't cost 2.4 billion. The shares that have been allocated can amount to that if they were able to sell all of them. The prison is being built in terms of financing is similar to what we did with the Park Hyatt. A developer comes in, presents a project, and they are allocated X number of shares, which represent citizenships, which they can make available to the investors. The only difference is that with this particular project, when it is completed, it will be turned over to the government to manage and to operate as a prison, which means that the government did not have to find the money to build the prison. The member, myself and the other ministers were part of the approval process for that project while we were in government. It is a private project. It is being done by a private company, as with the Park Hyatt, and so there is no need, it doesn't go through any government process in terms of having to tender, put out tenders for different contracts and all of that.
And just for clarification, Spencer Brand's project is a privately funded, privately owned project. And Mark Brantley argued with venom to ensure that he got his project moving in 2019, my Straight Dog family. But Jonel, your change in your attitude, though, one can consider too little, too late. Because you have long ago, you have been graduated to the Lazy Boy Club. So your change in attitude, although you have upset your leader and those in the hierarchy in PAM, if you continue that route, once things don't go bad for you in November, then you just may have a chance to redeem yourselves or yourself from the Lazy Boy Club.
Whenever it is something to be done, but tell them when money come, jolly money, they hand open for it. Tell them to travel abroad, they hand open for the ticket. When it is about themselves, they hand not I. Them a grab for themselves. Tell them Baylor Bass their high school for 7 years. We put out nearly $82 million. And lazy Jonel and Sean can't deliver the school. We come next week, the school are going to start up again. The only thing they're good for is to drink the rum. Tell them go have a party. Sean there first, Jonel there second. And be careful, the short man a come, he may rat you up.
Be careful, the short man may rat you up. But furthermore, Jonel, Powell, and Lindsey Grant are still facing criminal charges, unfortunately and otherwise. And those charges go before the court in November. But recall as well that Lindsey Grant's case, which is accused of battery on a woman police constable, that too is still outstanding. So the member or the constituents in number 4 and number 2 have lots to think about.
They mash it up. Pam left you with the greed and the lust for power by the current leadership. That is why they get themselves in a trouble with Marriott. They can't sit in and leave it. That is why they have a case to be heard in the court on the 7th day about of November. Some people describe it as the misappropriation case. Some people describe it as the breach of trust case. Some people call it the case of the vagabonds. But that is what they do. And they just cannot behave.
The case of the vagabonds. The people of constituency number 2, Central Bastille, and constituency number 4, Challengers Old Road and beyond, cannot therefore waste their votes on Lindsey Grant, and Jonel Powell. But the race in St. Kitts seems like one between the Douglas Labour Party and the People's Labour Party, because the People's Action Movement, by the very behavior of its leadership and its membership in the persons of Lindsey Grant and Jonel Powell, they must have eliminated themselves as a party. I'm afraid that Pam will have to go back to the drawing board and may have to spend another 22 years in the wilderness. But there are two choices then before us, my Straight Talk family. There are two choices that will come before us when we go to the polls in these premature elections caused mainly by Mark Brantley and Sean Richards, and by extension the CCM and PAM. The questions we ask ourselves: should we go back to the dark days of Douglas in Labour, or go to an all-inclusive People's Labour Party with a leader that has shown his capacity to lead, a God-fearing, decisive, competent and compassionate leader, Dr. Timothy Sylvester Harris? These are some of the questions we'll have to ask ourselves. Do we go back to the dark days of Douglas? Hell no, I can hear you say.
We want, as a people, an inclusive government representing our country. We want to genuinely be a government for all of the people. PAM people must feel happy under the People's Labour Party run government. Oh, yeah! Douglas Labour people will feel happy under the People's Labour Party government. The CCM supporter, dwindling as they are now, will feel happy under the People's Labour Party government. And the NRP supporter, growing as they are now, will feel happy with the Harris-led People's Labour Party government. And you, our supporters, will feel happy that you would have elected the People's Labour Party government.
And yes, my Straight Talk family, the choice should not be a difficult one. When you have a government with a leader who is compassionate, God-fearing, and one who considers all the people, and more particularly the poor.
In the last couple of weeks, since we get out the lazy group, the solar farm now getting started. The Boston High School now getting started. And the electricity cutting off people. I told Skellig, done with it. Done with it. I will not lead a country where the poor is being embarrassed. I will not lead a country where our children can't study because the government electricity company cut the mother lights. And I say no, no, no more. I told them the other day, done with the reconnection fee. You cut it off, the people come. They pay the current bill, you put it back on. That is how we do it. A government of compassion.
And yes, my Straight Talk family, I want to also implore our good leader that this decision must also apply to water. Because that wicked leader from PAM disconnected the water of so many people. Water is life. He not only disconnected the water of so many people, He disconnected the water during COVID-19. What a man. Is that the kind of leadership you want? And I say, before I go to the lines, to my PAM people, my PAM friends, I have nothing personally against you. I saw a lady yesterday watch me with a cross eye. If that could have cut my neck off, I'd have been flattering like a fowl. But I love her. She knows who she is. I love you all, the members of PAM, but your leadership is bad for PAM and bad for the country. So too, to my friends in Nevis. I went back home to Nevis. I say home because I'm a Nevisian born in St. Kitts. And I went back home on Saturday. And I saw many of my Nevisian friends and family. And I had to tell them, I have nothing against you personally. It's your leadership. Mark Brantley is bad for Nevis, bad for CCM, and bad for the federal government. You cannot afford to consider him for any office anymore. Just like I told you, just like I told Jonel, I'm going to tell you, my Straight Dog family, talk the truth. And that's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I started late, and I apologize for that. We had some connectivity problems. But now's the time for you. I'll open the lines and entertain your calls. My email platform is down for the moment, but I'll see what happens and have access to your emails. But meantime, let's deal with the calls. The numbers are 869-663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. I always implore you, my Straight Dog family, to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. And in the process, my Straight Dog family, let us, in doing and saying those things, strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, I'll go to the lines. My Straight Dog family, you are live at 9:09. Yes, caller? Greetings, my brother. Peaceful, my brother. Yourself? Your night? Ten-mile radius. You gonna? Okay, my brother. You're frequenting Tabernacle. I wonder what's the reason. Okay, my brother. Okay, my brother. Okay. No, it's not down. It's up. It's up. It's up. It was down. Yes. Yes, talk the truth, yes.
Some quote in your deliverance of saying that you can soon think of these people who are you calling of the 6 members that they were trying to rid of the goodness that have done for the social impact to the stable of the economy, to our people and a common state. But I would like to say, basically, we have a lot to really research and understand that there is a lot more problems than what we even taking that the problem is. And you know that's a fact. But we ain't going to put much emphasis on it tonight. So all I would like to say, to the people who's calling in tonight, let us put ourselves in understanding how the challenges are facing us. Because if you all are just looking at the party structure and at the leader you all claim that is doing good for the people, but let us look at it in realistic of life. Are we people really being done well in the social and economical well-being around here, as much money that we've seen is in stocking in the service provider that's saying it is? You all are educated people. Let me put the question on the board now, because centralization of power tonight, my brother, ambassador, is a true fact to power that our people need to analyze. That we cannot continue letting these youngsters who are continuing coming into the CBI program and indicating themselves as a service provider to our development. We are not ready for that. We need to wake up and be a people if we're ready to hold our affairs and our economical stability together. This is well, this time for the farmer. May your night go positive with your service to the people and your indication of what you're that the people bring good comments that we could really reveal where we're going forward from here. Thanks a lot. Safe night.
Thanks a lot, my dear brother Ras Aya. And I can tell you that there's a very robust due diligence process as it relates to the CBI program. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Yeah, good evening, Honorable Patrick Liburd.
How are you, my brother? Good evening.
I'm giving thanks. You know, the ram goat is thrown out of his pen. So he's looking for another pen to go to. Right? Now, I heard you were talking about the one the upon Nevis, what do you name, the Premier Nevis.
Mark Brantley.
I hear the Premier Nevis saying he had no intention of being Harris a second term.
I heard that too.
And that's the same man who said that they agree to 2 terms.
Yes.
So if you get a chance one day, look at it, because it's up and down the news. It's all up and down the news. So only show you how crooked there is when they call in other people crooked. They need to pick the beams out of their own eye first before they come to other people. But it's gone, they're gone. So let it go about the business. But as I watch around the Federation and see what is going on, especially in St. Kitts, I think the people are very happy with the St. Kitts Labour Party, People's Labour Party, and they turned out and the rallies and different things, they are very happy. And I will advise anybody, don't throw away the vote. Do not throw away the vote. It's time enough that you get back on the feet and bring back Dr. Harris so he could run this nation like how we were running it before. Patrick, God bless you. We'll catch up.
Yes, People's King, God bless you as well. As we go straight back to the lines, caller, you're live.
Yeah.
Yes, caller.
Good evening, Dr. Ian Patrick Liburd. How are you doing, brother?
Your humble servant is peaceful. Yourself?
Okay, I'm peaceful too, brother. I know we have a little technical glitch now and then, you know, because the first caller, I could have had the hearing, but then it come through a little better. But anyway,
yes, yes. Thanks.
I'm requesting one thing tonight. You were saying something?
I said thanks a lot for the advice. Sir.
Yeah, I'm requesting you, please, play back the clip with Jonel Powell when Jonel Powell speak the truth, because that will make a difference, especially in the people in the diaspora who do not know what is going on, and they are hearing those propaganda from those propagandists. So please play back that when you get a chance tonight. Now let me go to Nevis, to Mr. Mark Brantley. He is the biggest deceiver as a politician because he deceived me. I had a lot of confidence in him, and what I used to call him Panisho when I hear him talking. But then, when now the wind blow, and you see for you know where the egg coming from, I hear the truth. He used to criticize Mr. Parry when Anafi was in government about the geothermal in Nevis. And with the $400 million what he get, he should have been able to start back up the geothermal in Nevis, and he should have been able to fix the hospital of Nevis and leave our hospital down here. We're dealing with this. And he should have been able to fix whatever problem at the Newcastle airport. And the 2 containers that a lady who does walk and sell nuts down here asked him about one time with the dialysis machine. He cut off the lady and he peppered the lady with some wood. That $400 million could have fixed all those things in Nevis. And the $400 could have put a shed, a roof, down there by the Monday truck. So let me talk about that. And you come down here and talk and accuse the Prime Minister of those kind of figures where he come, where he read out tonight about the new prison. And Jonel, it's not too late. Leave those cooks. See where they put you? See where they put you behind the one who older than you, see where he put you? In trouble. But he gonna pay for it because the Bible says it is better for a millstone to tie around the neck of an adult and throw him in the deepest part of the ocean than to offend one of the younger ones. And that's what he do to you, Jonel. But I'm glad you have a conscience and you speak out. But let me tell you something. The country is running good, and everybody all over the world, they hear the difference. When they come with the propaganda, then the best Prime Minister ever, he comes behind with the truth and facts, and he's letting it out. Anyway, Patches, I got more to say, but time short. So if I get back in, I'll just brief you why people should not vote for Dr. Douglas Labour Party. 6 reasons why they should not. I'll come back with that. Thank you so long.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. As for your requests, this is what Jonel Powell had to say.
A developer comes in, presents a project, and they are allocated X number of shares, which represent citizenships, which they can make available to the investors. The only difference is that with this particular project, when it is completed, it will be turned over to the government to manage and to operate as a prison, which means that the government did not have to find the money to build the prison. The member, myself and the other ministers were part of the approval process for that project while we were in government. It is a private project. It is being done by a private company, as with the Park Hyatt, and so there is no need, it doesn't go through any government process in terms of having to put out tenders for different contracts and all of that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, caller. Thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Hi, Patrice. Hi, Patrice. Good night.
Good night, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I am peaceful. Peaceful.
Yes, I'm calling concerning the letter that Mark Brantley them had to write to the Prime Minister requesting a lot of things. Part of the things that they was requesting was Homeland Security, and they want finance, everything that the Prime Minister had, they had wanted. And they told him that if they give him what they want, if he give them what they want, they will let him be Prime Minister until the 31st of December 2023. I heard that one of the media was reading it on a radio station. I'm calling the radio station. So December 31st, 2023, is that to Tom? Who is keeping the promise? Who is fooling the people then? Huh? Who is fooling them? And Mark was on, I was listening to Mark the other day, and when they wrote the letter, he was there checking his time and say, we wrote the Prime Minister letter, and he's supposed to answer us by midnight, and I'm checking the time. The Prime Minister need to read the letter because Mark keep on saying he writing the Prime Minister, write the Prime Minister. Read the letter, let me hear what you write. That's what we want to hear. So anyway, Patrice, you take care.
Thank you very much. Take care as well, my dear. And yes, Mark Brantley seemed to be a little bit unstable. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. Hello, caller.
Patrice, good night. Good night.
Good night, my dear.
And how are you, my cousin? How are you?
I am peaceful. I haven't seen you for a bit.
I'm out in the vineyard working hard.
The vineyard. How are things coming at vineyard?
Oh, we are strong down here in 5.
Somebody gone and somebody on?
Yes.
Who's gone?
Sean God and Sashi on.
Oh, sounds wonderful.
Wonderful. Patrice, anyhow, I just call in to tell my facts because during the course of the week, I've been stopped by many people saying they're not hearing my voice. But I just want to say good night to my friend down in Stacia, my kids in Stacia, my friends in St. Martin, all over the world who are calling me and asking me they're not hearing me on your show. I'm here, I'm working in the vineyard, and I want to say I love my PLP, I love my Prime Minister. And Patrice, I want to place this on record tonight that I want to say that come next election, Dr. Timothy Harris will be right back to serve the people, to continue to serve the people of this great federation. Nobody can do it like my Prime Minister, and he deserves an next chance. And I want to say, just for the pop alone, is enough to vote back Prime Minister Dr. Harris, along with his other 7 other dream teams. I want to say tonight, Patrice, the Prime Minister is doing a tremendous job. He is a man who loves people. He is a man who serves people. He is a man who looks after people. And what can I say in this pandemic? 4 double salary, an increase, 10% increase. And now he said sometime a few days ago that he's going to increase the pop. What can else we ask for? The man is doing a great job. He's doing a tremendous job. And I want to say, he's convicted, he's found guilty of doing the good things for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And my thing for him is to 5 more years in government. Patrice, you get home safe. You have a good night, culture. Our Mr. Politics, manners. I want to say good night to all who has been contributing for all these past few months, these years.
Humbled, my dear. Good night. Have yourself.
Good night. Good night.
Yes. Good.
Everybody come on out on board for PLP.
Yes, my dear. Thanks a lot for your input. Always good to hear you. You know me.
Thank you.
I know you.
And I know you. Right.
Have yourself a wonderful.
Good night to my fans. Me and Far. Bye, Patrice.
Bye, my dear. That's Marshall, the great Marshall. Let's go back to the lines. Yes, caller, you. Caller, you gotta turn your radio down, please. Can you? Hello?
I did.
The Bible man.
Yes,
how are you?
I'm great and wonderful. I just come from mulling about an hour ago.
What happened?
Trying to think about a meeting of Molyneux.
Okay. How was it?
Money was well attended by.
Okay.
People the young people going to bad up there.
Okay. So it's Harris again.
Harris again.
Okay.
I hear this year.
I hear that today I put on Mr. Pan next radio station. I listen to them and hear what the say. I hear that a man, I don't know what you know what put them in radio station, man. You push them. I hear he started to talk something. But number 3. And I said to myself, the man come in a last shower of rain. If he will say that hard time, maybe he'll hold it, but not now. He gone in. That is, let me tell you something here, and I'm telling you. I always say it, and I'm Psalm 75. Promotion neither come from neither from the east nor the west. Promotion come from above. God set up and God take down.
It's down, yes.
And I'm going to say this thing tonight. God is not a man when he set up somebody this month, he take them back down next month. Not a thing goes so. God is a supreme God. He said that you can't understand his ways. You can't get his thought. And I'm going to say, okay, I am saying to you tonight, I went with up by Taibo. And when I see number 1 representative come on the stage when they call you, but you man went down terrible. I said, what is this? And touches all of them went down, but especially number 5. Lord have mercy. He ain't got no resting place by here. But number 2, Lord, I see all of them. I went to because I wanted to see all of them. And number 2 went down terrible. And so, number 1, Jacqueline Bryan. Let me tell you something here. From the time I hear Jacqueline Bryan is running, I said, Patrick is a very intelligent man, you know? And he's very smart and clever. Patrick, they were setting you up for a downfall, but God was in the midst. That revealed to me, but God. I don't know what I want to know. Okay. So, God, I believe that in all my heart, and I'm going to tell you something. I tell a young lady from Central Boston, when she put up sitting there for the palm candidate, I said, sister, even if we tapping up the God, PLP getting all in, God, we don't practice that PLP getting all in.
Okay, my brother, all 8. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your input. That's the professor. Thanks for your input, my dear brother.
All the best.
All the best to you as well. We go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful. How art thou?
How was your weekend?
Restful, my dear, restful. And yours?
Well, not too bad. I went to church.
You went to church.
That don't mean I can't say the good, the best Prime Minister doing. Mr. Liburd, the government workers sabotaging people because it's not their government. And the minister not looking into nothing, people talking. Thank God for my still life. What a Thursday night. You did not see me dancing on your phone. It was so sweet. When people meet me, they know how old I be. They was not in my 20 years struggle, hard struggle. They had it good. They want to dictate from me and do what I must do what they want to say. I am not their problem. Who look for me, I look for them. None of them was giving me anything. And I must come back home. I am in St. Kitts here, I born. I can't no home to go. They could meet me and say all they want. Ha ha! They're not meeting the two politician pastors, one crazy one and the other one. They don't meeting them and telling them nothing, but they want to tell me. God, there is politicians and God put them there to run election when I could do what I want to do. Jacqueline have her father, don't try nothing. That's why they do you so. Election here, you never hear about 24 candidates. Greed. Thanks. We can come back. See you.
Have yourself a good night. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland.
Gumby, my best Prime Minister.
Yes, my dear. Have yourself a wonderful night. My Straight Talk family, it's 9:33. We started a bit late tonight, so some of you may have missed me. We did have some connectivity problems, which we sorted out thanks to the technicians. And we, in fact, are asking you to talk the truth. The truth is that we have to face reality. The elections that are before us are important elections. These elections will determine whether we go backwards or we go forward. But I'll tell you something about that. Let's go up to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Liburd. How are you this evening?
I am peaceful. Yourself? Good evening.
Oh, I am blessed. I just called to say don't bother with the noise. We'll be all aid for PLP.
I believe you.
We're moving forward under Dr. Timothy Harris.
Okay.
I love me PLP. Patches, have a good night.
Have a good night. Be safe. That voice sounds familiar. Where are you calling from?
I'll tell you off the phone.
Okay.
I'll tell you off here.
Okay.
Good night. I'm a born Kittishan.
Okay. I didn't want the name, but I was trying to establish the region, Nonetheless, good to hear you.
I'll tell you off here.
That's no problem.
You be safe.
You be
safe. Take care.
Well.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a good night as well, my dear.
You thanks. Bye.
Back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Me again. You hear me?
Yes, you're doing wonderful there, Alice.
I don't know, the radio not working so good.
Your radio?
My radio. Somebody can't hear. No, Mr. Liburd, I can't be what I want to be before my mother and my father. Mr. Liburd, the Prime Minister was in the market Saturday. Who don't talk to me, I must give them something out of what the Prime Minister brings for me. I am living somewhere. He have an office. He don't have to bring nothing in the market for me. That's all they will study me about. They can't try nothing, none of them. This is 2022, not 1993. Don't care if they're back. The Prime Minister did not ask to be there. There is them take him. They know the good he was coming with. But they wanted shield from the 10 man in one. Now saying it since 5 years. Shame on them. They don't know their place. They didn't buy nothing for me. Now bring nothing to me. Good night. Have a good night. Get home safely. Who want talk? They have to talk about me.
Okay.
See you.
See you, my dear. Okay, that's Alice in Wonderland. We go straight back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Patrick, good night.
How are you, Jam Down? Good night, my brother.
Nice to hear your voice.
Likewise.
Hello, with PLP.
Hello, with PLP.
Okay, watch here. A calling on the chief of police to get involved in these people who look like they want to cause problem in this country. PLP want the problem, you know. We don't want a problem in the election. Leave the man posters them alone. What am I cutting up the man posters for? Leave the man posters alone and calling on the police to get involved. Do not let this thing get out of hand. That is what this political party wants. They're looking problem. People want a problem, you know. People want a peaceful election. Do whatever I don't put back the country to work. Because the better man will win. And the king will be the one who the judges choose, who the people choose. People want the problem. Timothy is God, he's the right man. He better not of them. This country need a leader, not followers. The one also, and the one down here, and the one down St. Paul's, the one on this and the one down St. Paul's, the one down here in Sandy Point. Timothy is that with them. People give up the man the country. This country need a leader. Have a good night, Patrick.
Have a good night as well, my dear brother Jam Down. Always so passionate. And yes, you're so correct that we need a leader. We do have a leader, and we have the best leader, and he will determine, God will determine where we go from here. Caller, you live.
Yes, Patrick, I'm glad I get back after Jam Down. Patrick, I agree with Jam Down. Let the commissioner of police do what he has to do. Because this country is a country built upon peace and love. And we are going to stand for no stupidness. No bacchanal, no battle and stone throwing down the street like what happened in 93. We ain't standing for that. Let us respect people, billboard or whatever when they put it up. Now here are the reasons why nobody's supposed to go vote for Dr. Douglas in the office. That is in 1993, the bad man threw battle and stone down Church Street. And he knocked Simmons' fuse out of power. And he sit down in the chair of the leader. And then he sent some people to take away Simmons' generator. That's one. Don't vote for him for that. Secondly, the bad man get blood money from Gaddafi. The bad man went down to Nigeria for $95 million from a woman. Then the bad man killed the sugar industry and sent brochure to Boston to Bahamas with a suitcase of money. That was the sugar workers' money. Then the fourth one, the bad man sold Bragadam a passport for $1 million. Where's the paper trail? None. Then the bad man went down Dominico get a passport from his friend. Come back up and deny it. And still went in Parliament. And then the other one, when they hold the bad man in Gatwick, we landed up in London. The sniffing dog were pulling the suitcase with illegal money. Those are the reasons why not supposed to vote for he. And then let me go to this one here now. But if I have a job and you come, you have two jobs, and you're going to try to discourage me from going to work by encouraging me to go with you go the wrong and don't go work, I should not get paid. And that is what happened to the one down so down west on Sandy Point. He had a good job and he let the one cross the waters with two jobs. Discourage he from going to work for 3 months and collect pay. And when he get fired, the one cross the waters can't give him no money. So anybody gonna let somebody like that influence them? They got to be mumu, because you got your job, and you're going to let somebody come knock out your job out here and they can't feed you. Anyway, time short. Good night. let somebody's come in. Marshal everybody good night. Jam down everybody. Rock everybody. Thank you, Patrice.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Thanks for your input. And you know, the issues before us are straightforward. We have a government, and as I said earlier, government is continuous. And even with this government, as we speak, even when they fired the 6 vagrants, political vagrants, I call them, they are not missed at all by the country. And the country should make certain that they're not back here. As you mentioned earlier, and as Prime Minister Harris mentioned, 3 of them are from the Lazy Boy Club. Lazy Boy Club, you don't need them in here.
But tell them when money come, jolly money, they hand open for it. Tell them to travel abroad, they hand open for the ticket. When it is about themselves, they hand not tie. Them a grab for themselves. Tell them Baylor Bass their high school for 7 years. We put out nearly $82 million. And lazy Jonel and Sean can't deliver the school. We come next week, the school are going to start up again. The only thing they're good for is to drink the rum. Tell them go have a party. Sean there first, Jonel there second. And be careful, the short man a come, he may rat you up.
Careful, short man, he will rat you up. Let's go back to the Lions caller. You're live.
Mr. Batted.
So.
How are you, sir?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Okay. Now I'm going to tell you something, you see. When I go up and Candy, I talk nothing but the truth. Now, I was in the belly of Douglas. And I want to say tonight, the people of St. Kitts ain't supposed to go back to Douglas. When you go back for 85%, 600% for water, you're going to squeeze the civil servant increment. You're going to take away the public works allowance and 17% VAT. Even said the dead will tax. That is, you have a man, a God-bless man, that Timothy Harris. And the Bible says, blessed is the man that considereth the poor. In the time of trouble, the Lord shall deliver him. Mr. Patrick, I will say, because one time I had to tell Mr. Douglas, blessed is the man that considereth the And the last thing I am going to say, they bring a meeting in Lodge. I stand up, because I went. And I said, when I stand up and I started to talk, I asked the Prime Minister, Douglas, this is the party that Mr. Brattle, 85%, and I sit down. You know what Douglas said?
like a miso. And so when he said that day, I said, like a miso, I'm going to root him out. That is, I read the Bible here, I talk to the Lord here, and the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 18, what better life are in the tongue, and what you say, you shall eat the food of thereof. Good night, Mr. Patches. Thank you.
Good night, my dear brother, the Bible man. Yes, good night, my dear brother. It's now 13 before the 10 o'clock hour. We started a bit late tonight. I think I lost about almost 20 minutes. I want to apologize for that. Did have some impromptu connectivity problems, and I give you back as much time as I can tonight. But in the event you have just joined me, though, we are talking the truth. Because the CBI over the years have accounted for what we call the foreign direct investment. Our CBI funds receive so high that we have graduated to a high income country. But I'll get back to that. Caller, you are live. Hello,
Cheers, good night.
Good night, my dear.
How are you doing?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Not too bad, thanks. Harris again, allow me PLP.
Allow me PLP, yes.
Yeah. All the best. Safe drive home.
Thanks a lot for your input. Everybody loves their PLP.
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for calling, my dear. And that's the choice we have. We have a choice of going back to the same old, and I think we ought to be reminded, though we do not want to drive this car in the rear of the mirror. The fact is, if we do not know where we came from, it is difficult to establish where we are and to determine where we are going to. And the fact that we are here, we have to establish how we got here and where we came from. Remember in 2015, put those misleaders apart for now. The Mark Brantley and the Sean Richards, but I'll come back to that. Let's go to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hey there, caller.
Good. Justice.
My dear brother, Enver. Are you there?
Good evening, everybody out there in Radioland, and good evening, servant ambassador, former minister, my friend.
For life.
For life.
Till death do us part.
Until death do us apart, to which I would add a relationship forged in opposition against a common enemy and now cemented by our political and ideological differences. Let's thank God that in these turbulent times our sentiments about each other have not changed. How are you feeling tonight?
I am peaceful, my brother, and yourself?
I am over here quite excited. I'm caught up in a whirlpool of anticipation. Don't know when you are going to ring the bell, but it's going to toll for you, I can assure you. And even as my expectations run high, I was just thinking and chuckling to myself, saying that one thing I like about the future, as somebody said, is that it comes one day at a time. There's always something to look forward to. And that's a great, and I'm sure that you would agree. It's going to get very dirty.
Why should it though? Why should it get dirty though? Yeah.
It's going to be a civil war. Your own bed bugs.
Why should it be? Why would it be?
Why your own bed bugs bite the hardest? The old people are always right. And I'm not talking necessarily among us. When I say us, I have to distinguish myself, separate myself to people in your category. You're public figures. Haven't you seen the unveiling that just keeps bubbling up like molten lava from a volcano? Is there anything about it that's appealing? The more we hear, is the more we detest it and abhor it.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you, my dear brother, my friend for life. But I asked the question because you are one would know. Why would there or should there be any sort of, to use your words, a civil war?
It is brother against brother. Remember, it was a coalition. You were there.
Yes.
It was a family.
We were there.
By and large, a family dispute. These tend to be the nastiest. We are far past those days now when it was Pam over here and Labor over here. This was supposed to be our new thing. And even as I hear you gloat over our departing Prime Minister's most recent disclosures, I'm going to ask you a question. It's rhetorical. I know you're going to treat it as such. For 5 years you were there, remember? But who presided over the cabinet that approved, formalized, and indeed facilitated Mr. Brand's schemes? Now, if you name everything, every development, good or bad, noble or nefarious, that transpired in the last 7-year period of our political lives, who presided over the whole shebang? Man, the answer is crystal clear.
Well, the brand, just for the record, sorry to interrupt you here again, but just for the record, the brand proposal was approved in 2019.
2019?
Yes, 2019, yes.
And who presided over it?
By the cabinet, inclusive of his colleagues in the NIA from Nevis.
Who presided over the cabinet?
Well, the cabinet only has one chairman. So, I mean, what's the point, though?
Well, that's what I'm telling you.
So what is the point? It's a collective decision. It's not a one-man decision.
Well, that's what I'm telling you, of team unity.
Okay.
Of team unity. Not one of them is exempt. And you know that, man, the trust that we extended to you has been violated and seeping. And you know something? Some of us, supported by most, have taken the radical decision to stand up and say, you know something? We are worth More than that, team unity. Every constituent part that detestable and abominable hold, they have failed us. And you know this. In closing, I attended a match for change and democracy from a broad cross-section of our population last Friday, and I'm sure that you saw it. And the swelling crowd was not unlike the tide that both of us rode together for those two precipitous and pivotal years that catapulted you into power. And you know I won't lie to you. And it was a glorious experience that for me, time, that memory we had back then, to me, it's both painful and tragic, though, to see you helplessly exposed on the wrong side of history this time. A message to the Dr. Drew-led Labour Party, newly revived. And it's a biblical message in prophecy.
Okay.
Behold, I come quickly to give every man according as his work shall be. Ambassador, for Minster, my friend, Ian Patrick Liburd, I'm telling you again in closing, get your house in order.
My brother.
Have a great one.
Have a great one,
May
my
God
brother.
richly bless you. Yes,
Thanks
sir.
a lot. Thanks a lot. Have yourself a wonderful night. Only time will tell, my brother. But always good to hear you. Always good to hear you. We fear not tomorrow.
Behold, I come quickly.
We fear not tomorrow because we love yesterday. So let's love today. Have a good night, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That's my brother. Enver is never out of words, and I always admired his tenacity, his everything, period. Caller, you're live.
Yeah, Patrick.
So
I want to tell some of them. They might not be as fortunate like before, like in 67.
You have your radio on?
Right.
You have your radio on, my brother?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah. I want to tell some of them. They may not as fortunate like in 1967. And anybody in St. Kitts who come from anywhere and think they could cause creation a problem here, I hope they will be not on the front line when the war do start. Okay? All right. Good night.
Good night, my brother. We talk in peace, my dear brothers, and not war. You see, what has happened is that PLP has come to the fore. And PLP, in my own humble view, is what I call the new unity. PLP comprises of PAM, Labour, and PLP. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller, you're live.
Patrice,
So,
Jesus Christ had 12 unified men as disciples, and one of them was a bug. A bug. Hear me? So if he could get 12 and one of them was a bug, what should we say for we hear not? Well, those who talk about civil war, they have intention, but it ain't gonna work. You know what happened? No weapon that is formed against them who serve God shall prosper, and they know that. The country is running good under a good leader, Dr. Timothy Harris, and we don't expect no kind of civil war, no war, no nothing. Country is running good. So who think the bad? Stop. Last week, a gentleman called and said the country is in turmoil. And you ask the gentleman a question and he can't answer why he should say the country is in turmoil. Well, let me let all of them know. Nobody gonna go leave, run from the country with trouble, go in another man's country, get in trouble, and send you back home because of trouble, and come and start any trouble. God is ruling this country here. And none of you could come on and throw nothing and mash up this country. Thank you. It ain't everybody who could back to talk. Good back to the hush. Have a good night.
I thought you used to ride bikes. Thank you, my dear brother. And we're not going there. We're really not. We're really not going there. It's all about peace. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Patrick.
So, jam
This
down.
country here want peace, you know.
Yes, yes.
This country want peace, and it's peace we don't get. We will get peace. I want to call on the police to control what's going on in this country, you know. Because we say when they know in 1993, I watch a trend there, you know. Bang off Mr. Weird cross by Princess Street and Vanish here. Calling an enforcement to control what's going on in this country, you know. You see a man cutting up the man billboard and PLP people are cutting up their one. They're looking problem. And my good friend who trying to stop problem in this country, I will walk straight on my brother. They will walk like that. I will go make patches. This country wants peace. And they want a leader, a proper leader, somebody who understands the day-to-day running of the government. And we got one, and we are losing him.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Jam down. It is really a difficult position to take when one says that the current leader in this country, the leader of PLP, has not done a good job. Who can say that? The wayward guys who've left and who have mashed up Team Unity, Mark Brantley and Sean Richards, they have mashed up Team Unity. They mashed up a good thing the people asked for. The people asked for a unity group. The people asked for a particular leader. The leader with the highest favorability rating was and still is Timothy Harris. That's what the science says. That's what the data says. They polled leaders and Harris beat them hands down. This is nothing that the parties decided. The people decided that. The people decided that they wanted Timothy Sylvester Harris as the Prime Minister in 2015. And when we got together in 2013 or thereabout, that's what the people expected, to have a Prime Minister named Timothy Sylvester Harris. So too in 2020. So to hear Mark Brantley come and say the things he said, I think something is wrong with that man. I believe so. But my Straight Talk family, as we wind down tonight's programming, the talk is about the CBI. And the CBI, the Citizenship by Investment Program, is or has accounted for our foreign direct investment. I mentioned the IMF. The IMF opined in its executive conclusion of its 2021 Article 4 consultation with St. Kitts and Nevis, dated October 29, 2021, just a few months ago. The IMF stated in its report, and I quote, that once the COVID-19 recovery is firmly established, the government should resume saving part of the CBI revenues to rebuild fiscal buffers, which will also provide additional fiscal space to mitigate contingent and long-term fiscal pressures. So when that man over there in Nevis, whatever his name, Mark, whatever his name, perhaps I'll stop calling his name now because it's insignificant. He comes with his melody, his one road march, like Lord Melody, I should say. But Harris, if it wasn't for Prime Minister Harris, who really brought fiscal prudence to this country and saved for a rainy day, and what he saved from? He saved from the CBI revenues. But instead of learning something from Harris, they tried to damage Harris or destroy him personally. Caller, you live. Hello, caller?
Yes, please.
Yes, go ahead, my brother.
I just want to make a slight clarification here.
Just before you make that clarification, can I just guide you by the rules of brevity? I give you a maximum of 2 minutes, and I mean 2 minutes. That's a long time for you to talk. I know you're a man never out of words.
It is extremely long given the circumstances.
Yes, but go ahead, please, quickly. I interrupted you, so I allowed you to go on, and I like to hear you. I like the vantage point from which you come from.
Thank you. Well, don't start clocking me until now and clock me off, please, at exactly 2 minutes. It would be less, I promise you.
Please.
Because I heard certain people raising the specter of social unrest, which was not my intent. What I was merely saying that in the past we had PAM and we had Labor. That's what we are accustomed to. Each of which had a manifesto, 2 manifestos, one for PAM and one for Labor. 2 separate and different ways to take our country forward. But in that context, the contest for supremacy was bitter. Enters another entity. 3 parties with 1 manifesto. Nobody's arguing about that. They are contending internally over positions, fear, and portfolios. It's a family war. Are you going to tell me it's not going to be bitter? Over and out. Good evening, folks.
Thank you very much, my dear brother, for that clarification and for being guided by the rules of brevity. And yes, like we said, the instead of learning some management lessons from a good leader, Timothy Harris, over the last 7 years, Sean Richards and Mark Brantley were more concerned and got all occupied with the insidious attempts at the personal destruction of Harris. What a shame, I said. It had to come like this. Because they ought to have known better. And they know better. But that's the result of 2 men who were hungry for power and greedy for money. When we think of the Hurricane Relief Fund, like I said, now called the Sustainable Growth Fund, it provided direct income to the government through the CBI. That's where we got our money from, to repair the roofs. The roof repair program. Thousands of people benefited in this country. Where do you think the money came from? The alternative investment option. That's all they talk about, the prison costs 2 point whatever million. Nonsense. Think about the revenue that will be derived from the program. It's a private owned, private funded, state owned project. In other words, the monies will come from the private sector, not from the government, not from the contingency fund, not from the treasury, not 1 cent from the treasury. So too is the solar farm. The solar farm is not under the CBI, but there's no capital outlay from the government. And that's important. And the government will own a facility, own an asset after a period of time. It's 10-12, take this call you live. I'm giving you some time. I'm sure Alva would bear with me. I'll give you 5 more minutes. Call you live.
Good night, Precious. Good night.
Good night.
Good night to everyone who's listening.
Good night.
I have a short question to ask, and I will like an answer. What, of all the arguments for money and power, my question is, what is the Federation with St. Kitts and Nevis wealth? What the wealth right now that everyone is cracking up for, fighting up for, tearing down each other for? Because it is wealth, the money, and the power. Power is yet to come. What is the Federation wealth?
What it is, in your view?
I mean, I would like to know how poor the country is or how rich the country is. Because for what little it is or for what it is, everyone should know. Because the fight is over it, what it is. That's the question I would like to ask, and I will arrest the rest.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for your input. Well, it's all about power. You know, everybody is craving for power, self-aggrandizement. When you look, for example, at the case that was cited in Nevis with an NIA minister, and the other projects around, we'll talk about them if need be. But there's one man trying to develop 5 acres of land in Nevis. And his proposal, if it was approved, that one man would have earned over $1 billion from a $12 million US investment. That was what it's all about. Here, the government is earning revenue from a citizenship by investment program, the oldest one in the world. Nobody, the government is earning revenue of foreign direct investment, as it is called. And that I was speaking earlier about the Hurricane Relief Fund. That's where we got the money from. Now the alternative investment option, the first project to be approved, I beg your pardon, I understand, under this program, will provide hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for the government. And in turn, the government will earn resources from the fees, due diligence fees and passport processing fees to facilitate the social infrastructure and development projects for the country. That's where the PAP money comes from. But you see, some people are dishonest. So dishonest and so deceptive that they now would come with a twisted tongue and say there's no problem with the 5,000 shares. That's what they said. There's no problem with it, but it's not a priority. What nonsense they're talking about. Who are they think they're fooling? Nonsense.
Man, I would have feel so proud if you had said the same 5,500 shares to build a new JNF. To come up here and say, let us improve Alexandra. Let us spend on all the clinics around the country. Let us get universal health insurance so that let us diversify our economy and get the marijuana industry finally going. Let us ensure that people in Cairn and the surroundings have water in their pipes. But no, you're not interested in none of that.
You will fool who you want to fool. But from the program, that's where the money will come. The revenue will be derived from the program to do all the things you are talking about. It depends on the amount of units of investment that will be sold. But there will be a positive impact on every citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis from the fees paid into the treasury, and the country will eventually own an asset. And the government would be able to finance the projects you outlined. You know that. Your firm is a service provider or sells legal services to the program. But you're trying to attract us or distract us from the issues that you have in your very cabinet there in the NIA. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller?
Patrick.
My brother.
All them empty who calling down 1840, they must go up there for visit and see how better people live. They must go up there, all of them must go up there. This country need a pillar and it got to bell. And a warning on some people, you know. They will let ship it and they will leave behind. Just like Patrick down your tongue, we want people in this song, we want to hear at night. Have a good night. This is John talking here. We ain't playing it then. Tokyo. We're talking serious business. We're selling up poor people and giving us proper living patches. Just like what you're doing in this Bastille. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother. And that's where we're going to end it tonight, my Straight Dog family. And we have to know, my Straight Dog family, when we see this deception, we must call it as it is. Mark Brantley was attempting to distract the Federation of the inherent conflicts of interest and corruption right in his very cabinet at the NIA. But conflict of interest and corruption, they spell and smell the same in any country you go, but obviously not in Nevis. Imagine Spencer Brand writes a proposal to Skipper to develop a 5-acre condo project at Coxheath Estate in Nevis. He estimated a capital investment of $12 million. He proposed to offer 1,224 shares at $400,000. Man, his yield would be $1.32 billion. Mark must ask the question or answer the question, who would have benefited from the project, that project, if the cabinet had approved his proposal? It came down to 220 shares at $200,000. But he still earns $119 million if that project is successful. The question is, therefore, who would benefit from this project? Has Mark Brantley's firm sold or is still selling legal services for this or any other project? That's the question we ask. Come back, Mark, and tell us. But the facts are clear, very clear, for Nevisians to make their decision. Nevisians, you have not much to ponder about, but this.
Including the Honorable Premier, sought to promote this personal benefit of a sitting minister. The facts are that for over a year the minister requested, was granted, and accepted 220 shares from the federal cabinet. All of this was forced from the mouth of the minister after questions were raised by the Prime Minister, and no amount of political gymnastics can erase those facts. This attempt to withhold conflict of interest information and to hide it under the guise of a come clean statement has not convinced the NRP, and neither should it persuade you, my people.
Citizens, residents, and friends, I have chosen to use this medium to address certain statements made by the outgoing Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Timothy Harris. Dr. Harris claims that I, Spencer Brand, as a sitting member of the Nevis Island government, am involved in the Citizenship by Investment program. Just to be clear, I am not one of those persons benefiting from the scandalous schemes that undervalue our passport. In fact, quite the opposite. I am a victim of the schemes because they have prevented me from being able to attract investors to my project.
And that's the Minister of Public Works in Nevis, painting himself like he's a victim. Imagine that. Again, my Straight Dog family, as we wind down to tonight's program, and we started late, and forgive me for that, but I gave you back your time, thanks to Alvo for his understanding. And my Straight Dog family, the time has come, or is here upon us, to make decisions. Decisions in relation to our future. We know who are available to us, and we know as well we do not want anybody from the Lazy Boy Club.
But tell them when money come, jolly money, they hand open for it. Tell them to travel abroad, they hand open for the ticket. When it is about themselves, they hand not I. Them a grab for themselves. Tell them Baylor Bass their high school for 7 years. We put out nearly $82 million. And lazy Jonel and Sean can't deliver the school. We come next week, the school are going to start up again. The only thing they're good for is to drink the rum. Tell them go have a party, Sean there first, Jonel there second. And be careful, the short man a come, he may rat you up. In the last couple of weeks, since we get out the lazy group, the solar farm now getting started. The Boston High School now getting started. And the electricity cutting off people. I told Skelec, done with it. Done with it. I will not lead a country where the poor is being embarrassed. I will not lead a country where our children can't study because the government electricity company cut the mother lights. And I say no more. I told them the other day, done with the reconnection fee. You cut it off, the people come. They pay the current bill, you put it back on. That is how we do it. A government of compassion.
And for those who are asking, my people, forget about the arrears right now. When we reach that bridge, let us cross it. Right now, if you have your May bill and you are disconnected, go pay your bill for May. The May consumption, and demand that your electricity be reconnected. My folks, my people, the race is now down in St. Kitts, having eliminated Pam because of the lazy boys, Sean Richards, Jonel Powell, and and Lindsey Grant. The race in St. Kitts seems like one between the Douglas Labour Party and the People's Labour Party. So you have two choices that will come before you shortly when we go to the polls in these premature elections. You have to choose whether we want to go back to the dark days of Douglas in Labour. Debt, high debt, rampant crime, my straight dog family. Or go to an all-inclusive People's Labour Party with a leader that has shown his capacity to lead, a God-fearing man, decisive, competent, and compassionate are words to describe him. And that man is Timothy Sylvester Harris, who leads an all-inclusive party called the People's Labour Party. All-inclusive means everyone is welcome. There's no one who will be left behind, my straight dog family.
Build an inclusive government representing our country. We want to genuinely be a government for all of the people. Some people must feel happy under the People's Labour Party run government. Oh, yeah! Douglas Labour people will feel happy under the People's Labour Party government. The CCM supporter, dwindling as they are now, will feel happy under the People's Labour Party government. And the NRP supporter, growing as they are now, will feel happy with the Harris-led People's Labour Party government. And you, our supporters, will feel happy that you would have elected the People's Labour Party government.
I concur, my straight dog family. And that's my story for tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the callers, you, those who listen on social media, Facebook and YouTube on my page, and for the emailers, forgive me as well for our late start tonight, and I thank Albert Bradley for his indulgence. My time is done and I gotta run. So until we connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on. Until we connect on Thursday, bye-bye. My Straight Talk family. Again, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. My Straight Talk family. Bye-bye.
When I wake in the morning, I thank God for the morning light. And praises for taking me safely through the night, for the rest of food and loving care, and for